It's that time of the week again. It is Tuesday, and so it's time for the Writers Corner live show. Here on the Writers Corner live show, we connect authors to each other. We help readers find new authors to love. And on the show, you meet seasoned as well as new and aspiring authors. Some of our seasoned authors will share their tips and tricks of how to get published right the first time. And so on the shows, you get to hear the backstory of our featured author for the week. And this week, our featured author is none less than Ronna Russell. She has got a great, great backstory. So before we introduce her to the show, don't go away. We'll be right back. If you're just joining us, then welcome to the show again. I am your host, Brigetti Limbanda. I'm a global goodwill ambassador and a live streaming advocate who loves to help brands, entrepreneurs, and authors tell their stories and have a great online experience. My co host is Mary Jackson. She's an award winning author of the children's Poolicious book series. She's currently working on some exciting stuff. She's also a wife and a mom to three inspiration. She's also a special needs and disability advocate who lives in Nashville in the USA. And I'm on the other side of the globe in Cape Town in South Africa. So if you are joining us live or on the replay, please type live in the comments. Or if you're watching on the replay, please type replay in the comments. But do tell us where in the world you are joining us from. So, hello, Mary. How are you today?
I am great. How are you? I'm so excited to see you this morning, and I'm so excited for our show. And I'm doing great. My daughter and I are doing a 10-day diet cleanse, if you would say. So we're getting to drink lots of stuff. So I'm running to the store every day. Everything's fresh. I'm cooking everything.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so no drive-throughs, and my little guy was just having a complete fit because I wouldn't take him to McDonald's yesterday because he wanted a burger. I'm like, no, we're not eating crap food right now. We're not eating drive-through. We're eating at home. We're eating healthy. So, he's like, all he cares is he wants a burger, right?
We're doing great stuff. And I want to say a special shout out and welcome to everybody on LinkedIn who's joining us.
Yes.
And a shout out to Dancing Diana Newen. Welcome to the show. So glad that I've caught you live for the first time, I think. Wonderful. So we've got a great, great, great featured author. Her name is Ronna Russell. She grew up as the youngest of three daughters born to a well-known United Pentecostal preacher and his wife. I don't really want to tell Ronna's story because I don't think anyone else can tell it as well as she does. She's got an unusual story to tell and an unusual book. And I really don't want to steal her thunder. And so I don't think I want to waste any time and bring her on the show because we've got lots to hear from her. Ronna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Hi, Ronna. We're excited to hear your story. So, do you want to tell people kind of what inspired you, what the name of your book and what inspired you? Like Brigetti said, she wants you to tell the story.
Okay, I can tell you how I got started. 2015, post-divorce, I had all of these stories from my very unusual childhood just bubbled up and out, and I wrote them in blog form. To be honest with you, they were experiences and memories that I had never dealt with. I proceeded with my life pretending like they had never happened. And so that's not really a good coping mechanism, because eventually you do have to face what's inside of you to face. And in the pain and distress of post-divorce, you know, I was a single mom, working 2 jobs, trying to hold myself and my kids together to varying degrees of success. I started to write as well. And the stories almost wrote themselves. Although every time I published a blog post, I had an anxiety attack. I would sit on my couch and shake. But they had to be told. They just had to be told. It was time. And I didn't think that anyone would ever read them. But
so Ronna,
then,
just
yes.
For those who don't know your backstory, just quickly tell us what the family dynamics were that inspired the story.
Okay. The United Pentecostal Church is it's a cult. It's an extremely oppressive religion. It does meet, I mean, they certainly wouldn't consider themselves a cult, but it does meet all of the earmarks, especially around oppression of women. It's very, very restrictive. And my father was a very well-known preacher in that arena. And so in addition to being extremely controlled, my family was also in the spotlight with lots of eyes on us at all times. My father was intelligent, dynamic, and a narcissist. And what no one knew when I was growing up, he was also a closeted homosexual. So I suppose that I don't want to psychoanalyze him at this point, but that may have contributed to his. Yes, and he was a very, very tense person. He was driven and very, very intense. So that's the atmosphere that I grew up in. It was, you know, lots of fear of hell and rapture anxiety, and there are a lot of ex-evangelicals online now that relate to all of that. The atmosphere itself was, you know, women they were not encouraged to work outside the home. You had to wear dresses, couldn't cut your hair, no television, really very limited interaction with anyone outside of the church. So it was very tightly controlled that way. So when I was a teenager, it all fell apart. My dad left that church. He had the interpersonal problems within the leadership there, and he ended up leaving. And then he left my mother for a man. He contracted, this was early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. He contracted AIDS and died in 1995. He passed away. So by that time, I was married with a couple little kids and decided to just live my life and leave it all behind. And fast forward 20 years, I had 4 kids and my husband came out. And so I had this, I don't know what kind of language I'm allowed to use on the show.
So,
I had a WTF moment.
Oh, right. Yeah, let's use acronyms. Okay, so you're saying that this happened with your father and then this happened with your husband as well.
Yes.
Was your husband a pastor as well, or in different kind of business? Okay.
No, I left religion in the rearview mirror. I wanted nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So I actually, understand. Sure. Yeah. And I didn't know ever when I was growing up that there was such a thing as a normalized religious experience, that you could be a regular person and identify as a Christian and it's all just normal. Right. It doesn't rule your life. You can. I have learned that. I learned that, but not until I was an adult, really. I had no idea that there was a middle ground. So I walked away from it all. And the man that I married actually came from an atheist family.
Wow. Wow. Oh
I
my
really
goodness.
just went the opposite direction.
Yeah, you did. You left skid marks in the road, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yes. Yes, I did.
Yes. Oh.
So Ronna, if when you were a child, obviously the terms narcissist and homosexual had no relevance. It was not part of your vocabulary. So
No,
just
I did
take
not
us
know those
quickly
words.
for, you didn't know those words then. So just tell us very quickly from your experiences as a child, for anyone else out there that may be watching this now from a child's perspective, what did that feel like? Are you able to describe that slightly?
It was a very pressurized environment. So my dad had a very quick, violent temper. Most of his abuse was emotional and verbal. I wasn't allowed to socialize, not at school, not in my neighborhood, not even really within the church community. My parents were very restrictive, and the role of a preacher's daughter in that environment is to be an example. So everything that you do reflects on the parents, and that's the thing that matters. So there wasn't one single time in my entire life where anyone asked me how I felt or what I thought. It was just I wasn't supposed to have feelings or thoughts. I was, this shining beacon of, reflection upon my parents. So I had to look the part and act the part for a child.
It is a lot of pressure for a child, yeah. And at what point in your life did it dawn on you? When did you have this awakening that it isn't right? This is not the way it's supposed to be within a family. When did that realization occur for you?
That's a great question. I would say adolescence, like 12, 13, 14 years old. So the United Pentecostal Church is a highly emotional environment where, speaking in tongues and people run around and dance in the spirit, and the music is very emotionally manipulative. You have the organ music to make you cry, and the thumping drums to make you want to dance around, and it's all very emotional. And about that age, I looked around and I thought, all of these people are dancing around all over the place, and they're weeping and crying, and they're speaking in tongues, and I feel none of that. And so the explanation for not feeling those things is that Satan's got his claws into you, right? There's something wrong with you acting to those emotions. But I wasn't. And so as the years went by, I disconnected more and more from what was happening around me, because it just didn't. And that's the age where people start to get analytical. You start to see your parents as people as opposed to just your parents. And so I drifted kind of further and further away from their belief system, and just started kind of counting down the time until I could get out.
Okay, I was going to ask you, did you become rebellious at that time? Did you?
I did. I got in big trouble for cutting my hair. I took the scissors to it here and there and just hoped no one would notice. But then eventually, of course, my dad noticed, and I got cursed out and reprimanded very, very harshly. And I started acting out sexually as well. I think that from I'm in my 50s now, I've raised a family, and I'm looking back at that child who did things that were risky and inappropriate, not only physically risky, but emotionally risky, just sort of throwing myself at whoever offered me some kind of connection. And I really think that that's what it was about. One of the tenets of the Pentecostal church is the purity culture. You may have heard it referred to as such, no premarital sex or sexual contact. And so there isn't any room for normal development. There isn't even any room for education around sexual development. It's just a don't do it. And if you do, you're going to hell, essentially. You're damaged goods. So what that really means to an adolescent girl is that my body is my worth. This is my value. It's not my brain. It's not what I can do in the world. It's not school. You're stuck playing this part, and that's the message that you're given, is that If your purity is intact, you're good. And if it's not, you're broken.
Right. And
So
that's
Ronna,
go ahead, Brigitte.
Ronna, if anyone is watching this show right now and they find themselves in a situation like yours, say they're a child still, and they're only just getting to the sense of awareness now. Hindsight is an amazing thing. You always look back and you think, I wish I saw this, I wish I did this. Blah, blah, blah. What would you say to someone now that is in a situation where they're having this awakening thoughts and realizing my family situation isn't normal? What would you say to them?
I would say, depending on the degree of the abuse, if they're being hurt, they need to seek help at school or from an adult that's outside of that community. If they can connect with one, find someone to talk to. Even if it's just, maybe somebody in the neighborhood, a friend's parent, but someone who isn't closely connected to that church community, if at all possible. And that's honestly the hardest part, because you don't know anyone outside of that. Even if it's just a school teacher or anyone that can lend an ear to what's going on with you, so that you feel like you have somebody in your corner. And if there's true physical abuse going on, then certainly seek help. And even if you have to go find a way to the local police station and file a report. I think that most situations, kids don't feel empowered to tell what's happening to them in that culture. Right. So I would say, someone to talk to if they can't get out, if they can't get help, is to read everything about the world that you can possibly get your hands on. Read about other religions, read about mythology, read about psychology and trauma, and just read and connect online if they have access to information. Is the more information that you have, the better able you are to put your situation in perspective. And I think that's really important. If I had been able to access, some other information.
That's the difference. That's the difference between then and now, right? I mean, back then we didn't have Google. We couldn't just jump online and connect with other people. I mean, now you can actually reach out to someone online if you don't know someone in person. You can ask for help, and you've got this information at your fingertips. So my next question to you is, we may go through traumatic events, whatever they may be, and yours was extremely traumatic and personal. Yes. What was it that made you want to put pen to paper to actually write your story and share it? What was it that compelled you to do that? And was that part of your healing process?
Yes, it was absolutely part of my healing process to put the stories on paper. I think when I'm an introvert by nature, so I never was comfortable telling people about my past or telling people about my family. But when I started to write the stories down and I could read them and see the words on the page, and then other people read them and I got reactions, it was only then that I realized it was trauma. I wasn't making a big deal out of nothing. I really did come through something that was difficult, that shaped me and formed me. And so that was a huge part of my healing, to get that validation from other people. And even reactions from people who knew my family said we had no idea how bad it was with it inside your house.
Hey, has it, in the writing of all this, your father has passed, is your mother still alive?
She is.
Okay, so how has she been about you writing this and making it public?
It's difficult for her. I have to say she's been supportive, and she read my blog posts, and when people started to read them, and I recognized some of the names of the people that were reading my blog, and I thought, someone's going to tell my mother. Yeah, I better tell her first. So I did. Right. I let her know what I was doing, and I can't say that she was thrilled about it, but she understood. and read along. And prior to publishing some of the more painful pieces, I gave her a heads up. I said, I'm publishing something you might not want to read. And it wasn't about her, but as a mother, it's painful to read about some of the things that
but she was
right?
Right. And she was going along with the illusion of,
right.
And there are some organized religions that are that constrictive, because I know we have Pentecostal everywhere, and there's some here that are not as constrictive like that. But I do know that for her, probably going along with that facade, that's still within her, not wanting to see the truth of things, especially about you. And so that's a good point. It's very brave of her to, it's very brave of her to be able to listen to that. And maybe it can help her to have some healing, because I'm sure there were things that happened in the marriage that were very hurtful to her, especially the way your father left.
Devastating. It was devastating for her.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of did what you did, like you totally broke all the rules and boundaries of what the religion was. And so she kind of had it two different places. So maybe through some of this, she will be able to get some healing as well.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. She was every bit as oppressed and wounded as I was. Certainly, it was probably harder on her. When my own husband came out, I have a framework for gay people. I know lots of gay people. That's not a big deal. It was the deception of it, the lack of honesty in our marriage that was so difficult to deal with. It wasn't. I mean, I had been asking him if perhaps that was the issue, so it wasn't a complete surprise. Yeah. Right. And I can't tell his story. I don't know if he wasn't admitting it to himself or if he was just hiding it from me. That's not my story to tell.
So your story is you're basically based on your childhood and everything that you went through, and the organized religion and kind of the oppression. And, there's something that our families kind of dealt with recently, and some other families have here locally. And, it's one of the reasons people walk away from organized religion. And it's really sad, because the intention of it is totally different. It's just, the intention of it is totally different than the execution of it. And I mean, I walked away from it when I was in high school, because I saw the falsities of it and the fakeness, and it, like, my eyes opened up and I went, oh my gosh, this is a facade, the way these people are acting. I'm lucky enough to be in a church now where my pastor has helped me believe in this again, over the past 10, 15 years, which is, I'm really grateful for that.
It's like being shown how to believe in love again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And it's very important in our lives. Love's important, so I'm so glad you wrote this book. I'm glad that do you feel like you've healed a lot of yourself through the writing of it and publishing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had so many people reach out to me and thank me for writing the book and share their own stories. And sometimes they're so personal that I have to issue the caveat. I'm not a therapist.
Oh, sure.
I'll listen, and I have a lot of empathy, and I can share my story. But at the end of the day, there's no replacement for a good therapist. And when you deal with trauma, you need help.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so important to get help.
Yeah.
Ronna, I just want to quickly share a question here from a young man in Pakistan. Hamad is 13 years old, and he says his mom is 31 and he's 13, and he wants to know, how can he be a good son to his mom?
Oh, how sweet. That's precious.
That is so nice.
I know.
How to be a good son. Talk to her. Sometimes moms want to connect with their kids, especially through the teenage years. It gets more difficult.
It's so hard.
I remember having a conversation with my son, who's he's 26 now, but when he was a teenager, I tried to get him to talk to me about something that was going on in his life. And he said, "Don't you understand, Mom? Talking about it makes it worse." And I thought, wow, I am not a male. I don't understand that at all.
Right.
So I would say, and thank you so much for your question. It's a lovely question. Talk to her. Just even if it's just a casual conversation and you're not bearing your soul, check in with her. How you doing, Mom? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go get
Can I help you with anything?
Can I help you with anything?
Yeah. Can I help you? I love you. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Hamid, I'm going to tell you one of the nicest, one of the things I enjoy about my sons is when they just walk up to me randomly and they give me a hug. It means the world to a mom. If you just do that, it's a beautiful thing.
It is. Yeah, that's lovely. Hugs are good.
Ronna, how can people find your how can people connect with you, and where can they find your book?
My book is on Amazon. It's called The Uncomfortable Confessions of a Preacher's Kid. And to fair warning, there are sections that are graphic. There is sex in it, and I don't pull any punch. I was raised in the way that I divorced. So it's not a book for children. So that's on Amazon. I have a website, it's just my name, RonnaRussell.com, and I'm on Facebook. Those are the best ways to track me down.
And now, are you self-published?
No, I published through Black Rose.
Okay, that's right. When did it come? When was it released?
April.
Okay, I knew that's right. I don't know why I was thinking, because you didn't say Black Rose, so I was thinking, wait, I thought she had, So anyways, that's good. So you can find it on blackrosewriting.com as well. And I'm super excited for you.
Thank you. I'm happy to have it out, and I hope it does some good in the world.
Ronna, would you, if someone else had been through such a traumatic experience, would you recommend writing for them as a means of therapy?
Absolutely. Journal. You don't have to ever let anyone else read it. You certainly don't have to publish it. You can write it down and then set the pages on fire or delete them off your computer. There is something about the process of writing the words and then reading your own experience in black and white on the page that it's super helpful. It's an acknowledgement. It's an internal acknowledgement of your own trauma. And I would add for anyone who is stuck in what they consider a restrictive religion, to find a way out. And if they're young, know that it will get better and you will grow up and you can make your own decisions. I have also talked to women since my book came out who are stuck in marriages and don't see a way out, which was another part of my story. It was the being stuck in the religion and then being stuck in the marriage and not leaving until I was pretty sure I was going to just die if I stayed.
Ronna, we're kind of out of time.
That's hard.
Yeah. We're out of time, but I really want to ask you one last question.
Okay.
In all this time, that this happened to you, did you blame your mom at all?
I think I did when I was younger. I had quite a bit of resentment, and not now. I've raised a family. I know how hard it is, and I know how much you compromise yourself without even realizing it sometimes. We've had some really deep conversations, she and I, about the past, and I don't know. I love her, and I feel for everything that she's been through. I really do.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, bless her heart.
That's a wonderful note for us to end on.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was so nice to have you, and it was so awesome to hear your story and to be able to share it this way also. Hopefully we'll reach people, in lots of different places. And
I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And when you write, if you write something, the next thing that you do, reach out to us, please, and let us know. So we'd love to have you back on.
I'm working on it.
All right. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you very much to everyone who's watched us live today. And if you are watching this on the replay, please do let us know by typing replay in the comments. So from Cape Town in South Africa, it's goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
On behalf of the flight crew, thank you for flying with us and have a pleasant day.